प्रोजेक्ट जो है वो वोक में है। तो वरुणा पे हम लोगों ने काम किया है, 80 पे अभी काम नहीं किया, 80 पे हम लोग प्लान कर रहे हैं, तो मैं उसको तेजी से आपको दिखाना चाहूंगा। चलिए आगे प्लीज नेक्स्ट। ये वाला लास्ट में लाइक लेके आएंगे, ये वाली स्लाइड को नेक्स्ट लाइए प्लीज। इसका जिक्र अक्सर ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर भी अब उसमें करते हैं मन की बात में। जून 2020 में जब कोरोना का कोविड का फर्स्ट फेज का पीक पीरियड था, उस समय बाराबंकी की आई थिंक करुणा रिवर है जिसका जिक्र उसमें किया गया था। और हमने 2018-19 में 3 साल पहले की बात है, लगभग 6 स्मॉल रिवर्स दी थी, आरएल, मंदाकिनी, कर्णावती, वरुणा, मोरवा एंड गोमती। ये अलग अलग डिस्ट्रिक्ट के स्ट्रेच पे थी, मल्टी डिस्ट्रिक्ट वो था, इनका ग्रुप था, वो था जिसकी मैं फोटोग्राफ्स और जो वर्क उसमें हुआ है उसको मैं आपको दिखाना चाहूंगा। चलें प्लीज नेक्स्ट। इसमें बहुत कम खर्चा, लगभग 4.5 करोड़ रुपए खर्चा हुआ था इन सब 6 रिवर्स में। अगले फाइनेंशियल ईयर जो कि 1920 से 2 साल पहले 19 रिवर्स को लिया गया, क्योंकि वो 6 रिवर्स थी वो हमारे लिए अच्छे रिजल्ट प्रोड्यूस कर पाए। ये जो 19 रिवर्स हैं उसके नाम आपके सामने रिफ्लेक्ट हो रहे हैं। इसमें टोटल 698 पॉन्ड्स खोदे गए, इनके दोनों रिवर बैंक्स के 1-1 किलोमीटर की रेंज में। प्लांटेशन 33.36 लाख प्लांटेशन किया गया। जो ड्रेन्स थे 216 ड्रेन्स रेनोवेट हुए और 35.23 करोड़ रुपए इस पे खर्चा हुआ। इसके डिस्ट्रिक्ट में आपको दिखाऊंगा, चलिए प्लीज नेक्स्ट। लास्ट ईयर ये रेंज जो है ये 25 पे पहुंच गई, उससे पिछले साल 19 पे थी, उससे पिछले साल 6 पे थी। इसमें थोड़ा सा और ज्यादा काम हुआ कि 919 पॉन्ड्स, 22 लाख प्लांटेशन, ड्रेनेज का कुछ काम हुआ है एंड 67 करोड़ रुपए के करीब इसमें खर्चा किए गए। मैंडेज मनरेगा के जो होते हैं वो 29.17 लाख इसमें हम लोगों ने क्रिएट किए। लाइए नेक्स्ट लाइए प्लीज। ये डिपार्टमेंटल चीज है, ये कवरेज था हमारा बेसिकली जो हम कवरेज ले रहे हैं। लगभग 36 डिस्ट्रिक्ट जो है ईस्टर्न वेस्टर्न यूपी के दोनों मिला के, जहां पे वाटर पॉसिटी एरियाज भी हैं, वाटर डेफिसिट एरियाज हैं, उनमें जो कवर करते हुए हम लोग ये 25 रिवर्स को रिजुविनेट कर रहे हैं। नेक्स्ट लाइए प्लीज। ये एक एक करके जब रिवर का हम लोगों को देखते हैं बाइफर्केशन, तो इस तरीके 6-7 डिस्ट्रिक्ट जो है जिनमें रिवर फ्लो करती है, उनके पार्ट्स, उनके एरियाज को फ्रॉम द टॉप टिल द बॉटम उसको लिया गया है। रिवर जहां से ओरिजिनेट कर रही है टिल जहां पे वो एंड हो रही है, टेल है उसकी, वहां तक लिया गया। जैसे सई नदी को लगभग 6 जिलों में इसको डिवाइड किया गया, 385 इसमें किलोमीटर्स थे एंड जो टोटल ग्राम पंचायत 385 थी और जो किलोमीटर था इसका 917 था। पांडुप में 5 जनपद थे, ये जो सामने है, 115 ग्राम पंचायतें इसमें इन्वॉल्व हुई हैं और 232 किलोमीटर इसमें इन्वॉल्व हुए। चलें आगे प्लीज नेक्स्ट। इसी तरीके से ये बेसिकली ये विवरण तैयार किया गया। मैं इसको रीड आउट कर दूं, 15 मिनट्स मेरे एक्चुअली, तो आई एम कंसर्न कि आई शुड बी एबल टू रश थ्रू। ये वरुणा, टेढ़ी, मंदाकिनी, ससुर, खदेरी, गोमती में भी 6 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स इन्वॉल्व हुए, इसमें 250 ग्राम पंचायतें, 571 किलोमीटर। ससुर खदेरी फतेहपुर में प्राइम मिनिस्टर अवार्ड फॉर एक्सेलेंस मिला था इसको, वहां की डीएम थी उस समय काजल वर्मा, उनको अवार्ड दिया गया। चलें आगे प्लीज नेक्स्ट। आरिल, मोरवा, तमसा, नाद नदी, कर्णावती नदी, चलें आगे प्लीज। देन बान नदी बिजनौर, अमरोहा, मुरादाबाद में, सोत, काली पूर्वी नदी, दाढ़ी नदी, ईशन, बूढ़ी गंगा, चलें आगे। तो ये हमारे स्टाफ ने थोड़ा ग्राफिक्स बनाया है कि किस तरीके से रिवर कहाँ से फ्लो करके कहाँ जा रही है। इसमें प्रेजेंटली मैं इसको रश थ्रू करूंगा, इसमें कोई एक्सप्लेनेशन की जरूरत नहीं है। चलें आगे प्लीज। सई नदी का 4 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में रेनोवेशन किया गया था, जो कि पिछले साल का वो है प्रोजेक्ट है, और इसमें हमें अवार्ड भी मिला था, बेसिकली सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने हमें इसमें अवार्ड किया है। चलें आगे प्लीज। ये मंदाकिनी रिवर, ये चित्रकूट में इसका रिजुविनेशन किया गया और इसमें भी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इसको रिकॉग्नाइज किया। और इसमें इसकी मैं आपको एक वो दिखाऊंगा, हमारे पास इसका गूगल मैप का, गूगल का GIS वो है, पिक्चर है जो कि 3 सालों का है, जिसमें वाटर का जो लेवल है रिजुविनेशन किए जाने के बाद उसको वो कैसे बढ़ा है वो शो करता है। चलिए आगे प्लीज नेक्स्ट। मंदाकिनी, हाँ चलिए आगे नेक्स्ट। ये पांडु नदी का स्टार्टिंग टिल एंड, इट स्टार्टेड इन औरैया एंड इट क्रॉस थ्रू कानपुर देहात एंड रीच टू फतेहपुर। तो दिस एंड इट वाज लाइक रिवर लेंथ वाज 232 किलोमीटर एंड टोटल 5 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स वर टेकन अप इन दिस पांडु नदी। चलें आगे प्लीज। चलें आगे नेक्स्ट। टेढ़ी नदी का एक टेबल बना हुआ है। देन मनोरमा में हमने 2 डिस्ट्रिक्ट को कवर किया है, टेढ़ी में भी 2 डिस्ट्रिक्ट को कवर किया है। इसमें टोटल ग्राम पंचायतें वगैरह इसके वो की गई हैं कि कितना इसमें हम लोगों ने किन किन उसमें एरिया में काम किया। चले आगे नेक्स्ट लाइए। अब उस पर आते हैं जो हमारा थोड़ा सा प्रेजेंटेशन है। ये प्रेजेंटेशन मूव नहीं कर रहा है, ओके। गोमती, आरिल, चले आगे प्लीज। एक्चुअली ये तो नेवर एंडिंग नेम्स हैं, इतनी सारी नदियां हैं एक्चुअली यूपी में कि वो उसको हम सबको टेकअप करना चाहें। अभी एक प्रेजेंटेशन में सुनने वाला हूं जिसमें डिजिटलाइजेशन ऑफ जो वो है, जिसमें आई थिंक एक स्पीकर हमारे इसी वाले सेशन बोलने वाले हैं। तो डिजिटलाइजेशन हम इसमें स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं कि कैसे इस पूरे डेटाबेस को डिजिटलाइज किया जाए, ये किन किन ग्राम पंचायतों से गुजरती हैं और कितनी किलोमीटरेज कहाँ पर है और कैसे हम इनको स्टार्ट करते हुए एंड तक सक्सेसफुली फिनिश कर सकते हैं। तो वो दैट दैट विल हेल्प अस। डिजिटलाइजेशन जो है मोरवा, नाद, कर्णावती, चले आगे, बान, सूत, ये अलग अलग डिस्ट्रिक्ट, अलग अलग एरियाज यूपी के जो हैं उनकी हैं। इन सब में राजस्थान जो है, मैं मतलब सबको अवगत करना चाहूंगा, राजस्थान सबसे टॉप में है इस सब रिवर रिजुवेनेशन में। उनके पास बहुत बढ़िया टेक्नोलॉजी है, उनके पास बहुत अच्छा नो हाउ है। जो राजस्थान है इस समय लीडिंग है RRP प्रोजेक्ट्स में। स्पेशली राजस्थान काम जो कर रहा है वो मनरेगा से ही कर रहा है। ईशान एंड बूढ़ी गंगा के बारे में डिस्क्रिप्शन दिया गया। चले आगे प्लीज, नेक्स्ट लाइए लाइए नेक्स्ट लाइए, अब तो चलिए। हाँ, सिरसा, बेलन, चलें आगे। चलिए आगे चलिए, ये तो these names will keep coming. Yes, this is a photograph of central government's program in which the DM of Chitrakoot was honored by the Water Resource Ministry in Delhi. इसके कुछ फोटोग्राफ दिखाना चाहता हूँ, चलें आगे प्लीज। ये वाला फोटोग्राफ ये शो करता है कि 2017, 2018, 2019 एक ही पर्टिकुलर कर्वेचर से फोटोग्राफ ली गई है। जो इसमें काम हुआ है 2018 में हुआ है, वो 2018 से 2019 की तरफ वो स्प्रेड किया था। जो इसमें व्हाइट वाला पोर्शन है वो बेसिकली सैंड एरिया दिखाता है, जो इसमें डार्क वाला पोर्शन है रिवर का वो वाटर वो दिखाता है। ये एक ही मंथ के फोटोग्राफ हैं, ये अलग अलग मंथ के फोटोग्राफ नहीं है। तो जब इसमें रिवर रिजुवेनेशन, जो इसके साइड के एरिया जिसके तटबंध थे, इसमें प्लांटेशन की एक्टिविटी, देन उसके कुओं का इत्यादि खोदा जाना, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, जब इसमें ये चीज 2018 से 2019 में वो की है, तो वाटर की जो अवेलेबिलिटी इस रिवर में है वो बढ़ी है। ये GIS फोटोग्राफ है। चले आगे प्लीज नेक्स्ट। ये उसका कुछ ये वरुणा की तरफ मैं इंगित कर रहा हूँ। वरुणा पे भी चूंकि काम कराया गया है और इसमें बेसिकली अभी भी हम लोग टारगेट कर रहे हैं कि 80 नदी को भी इसमें लेंगे। नेक्स्ट लाइए प्लीज। वरुणा में बेसिकली अभी तक 30 पॉन्ड्स एंड 50 ड्रेन्स को कंस्ट्रक्ट एंड रीजुविनेट किया गया है। टोटल एक्सपेंडिचर सवा करोड़ रुपए, 1,27 लाख इसमें खर्चा किया गया एंड 63,000 मैंडेज इसमें क्रिएट किए गए हैं सो फार। चलिए आगे प्लीज नेक्स्ट। ये वरुणा की फोटोग्राफ्स हैं। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। ये वरुणा का डिस्क्रिप्शन है, बैक लीजिए प्लीज। ये हमारा बेसिकली टेबल है जो कि ये दिखाती है कि किन किन ग्राम पंचायतों में कितना कितना काम होना है। ये एक डिटेल डिस्क्रिप्शन, एक डिटेल प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट बनती है जिसको कि हमारे नॉन टेक्निकल बैकग्राउंड के ऑफिसर्स बनाते हैं। टू सम एक्सटेंट जो वहाँ के असिस्टेंट इंजीनियर्स हैं, जेई हैं, वो लोग। इसमें जो बड़ी एजेंसीज हैं जैसे वैपकॉस है या कोई नेशनल एजेंसीज है, स्टेट लेवल की एजेंसीज, इसमें अभी तक इन्वॉल्व नहीं है, जिसको मैं लास्ट में उस स्लाइड को दिखाऊंगा आपको। चले आगे प्लीज नेक्स्ट। ये वरुणा का काम हम लोग डिपिक्ट कर रहे हैं। इसमें ऑलरेडी हम लोग वहां पे काम करा रहे हैं, जिसमें इसके जो रिवर बैंक्स हैं उनकी स्ट्रेंथनिंग होती है, प्लांटेशन होता है, साइड के जितने भी वाटर बॉडीज हैं, तालाब हैं, कुएं हैं, पोखरे हैं, उनको रिजुविनेट किया जाता है। रिवर बेड पे कम काम होता है। हम लोग इसके ये 3-4 चीजें इसमें लगभग 1 किलोमीटर लेफ्ट एंड 1 किलोमीटर राइट जो रिवर बैंक है उसमें हम सारी वाटर बॉडीज को रिजुविनेट करते हैं, प्लांटेशन की एक्टिविटी करते हैं। चलिए आगे प्लीज। ये जो पिछले लॉकडाउन लगे थे, रिवर जो है वो एक मेजर प्रोजेक्ट थी कि जिसमें 500, 1000, 1500 लोग लगाए जाते थे। इन्होंने बहुत ही बड़ा इन्होंने रोल प्ले किया था पूरे यूपी में। लोगों को जो लॉकडाउन में वापस आए थे डिफरेंट स्टेट से, उनको काम देने में। तो अलग अलग मीडिया रिपोर्ट्स बेसिकली हम लोगों ने कवर की कि किस तरीके से मनरेगा ने और रिवर रिजुवेनेशन के प्रोजेक्ट्स ने एंड वाटर कंजर्वेशन के जो बड़े तालाब थे, बड़े बड़े उनके पोखरे थे, इसने कैसे 500, 500, 1000 लोगों को एक एक ग्राम पंचायत में काम दिया। तो ये उसका एक प्रोजेक्शन है। चलें प्लीज। ये 30,000 ट्रीज के बारे में कि वहां पे हम लोग प्लांटेशन करेंगे उसके बारे में रिपोर्टिंग है। देन तटबंध पर बनेगा 5 मीटर चौड़ा मार्ग। एंटायर थिंग विल बी थ्रू मनरेगा, इट विल नॉट इन्वॉल्व द बजट ऑफ एनी अदर डिपार्टमेंट। पेड़ हमें फ्री मिलते हैं, लेबर हमारी होती है, मशीन हम लोग लगाते नहीं है। सारा काम जो मैंने शुरू में कहा कि पीपल्स पार्टिसिपेशन वाला जो एंगल है, पीपल पार्टिसिपेशन के माध्यम से कराया जाता है। उनके सर्वाइवल भी फिर उसके बाद मनरेगा जो है अगले 2 साल और उसके सर्वाइवल पे पैसा इन्वेस्ट करता है। चलें आगे प्लीज। ये रिवर रिसरेक्शन मॉडल रिवाइज माइग्रेंट्स फेज 2, ये भी वहीं का है, वरुणा रिवर उसी का है। उसके बाद थ्रोइंग यूज्ड मास इन द बिन्स, पुटिंग वेस्ट, नहीं ये वाला नहीं, ये हाँ इसी का ये वो है, जूम्ड है बेसिकली। ये भी वरुणा का है कि माइग्रेंट के फेट को नॉट ओनली वाटर कंजर्वेशन का काम किया गया, एग्रीकल्चर में सपोर्ट की गई एनिमल हस्बेंड्री में सपोर्ट की गई, वहां पर जो लेबर आई थी, वापस आई थी, उनको भी सस्टेनेंस प्रोवाइड किया गया मनरेगा के थ्रू, एंड हमारी एक अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट भी डिलीवर हो पाया। चलिए आगे प्लीज। ओडी रिवर, बस वी जिस फोटोग्राफ्स लाइए आगे, चलिए चलिए आगे। इसमें 20 किलोमीटर, ये पहले की हालत थी। डीएम जो है वहाँ के, उन्होंने कॉन्फ्रेंसेस बुलाई, मीटिंग्स बुलाई, इसमें मिस्टर राजन सिंह को भी इनवाइट किया गया, इन लोगों ने काम करना शुरू किया। ओडी रिवर जो है वो ललितपुर में है, इस पर बड़ा अच्छा काम हुआ। चले आगे प्लीज। ये ओडी रिवर का ड्यूरिंग द वर्क है। इसमें बेसिकली इसको इसको दोनों तरफ से इसके एक पैरेलल लाइंस क्रिएट करते हुए बीच में चेक डैम्स बनाए गए। वो चेक डैम्स जो है ओडी रिवर में वाटर कंजर्वेशन को, वाटर को रोकने में कामयाब हुए, एंड वाट जो नीचे का वो लेवल है, अंडरग्राउंड वाटर का लेवल है, उसको भी इंप्रूव करने में इसमें हमें मदद मिली। चले आगे, नेक्स्ट लाइए। ये चेक डैम इस तरह के बनाए गए हैं। ये चेक डैम दो तरह के फंड के कन्वर्ट करके बनाए जाते हैं, माइनर इरिगेशन को बनाता है और मनरेगा को बनाता है। तो जब हम लोग दोनों फंड्स को कन्वर्ट करके इसको एग्जीक्यूट कर देते हैं। चले आगे प्लीज, नेक्स्ट। ये जो चेक डैम्स वगैरह हैं, उससे हम ओडी रिवर का ये स्पेसिफिक शेप सामने ला पाए। उसमें प्लांटेशन की क्वालिटी भी इंप्रूव हुई, फसलों की क्वालिटी इंप्रूव हुई, देन फिशरीज को सपोर्ट मिला, एंड एनिमल हस्बेंड्री को भी लार्जली सपोर्ट मिला। चले आगे प्लीज। ये ओडी का ही है। चले आगे, नेक्स्ट लाइए, अगली वाली रिवर लाइए। ठीक है, ये वेल्स दिखा रहे हैं हम लोग, जो वेल्स उसके रिचार्ज किए गए हैं। वेल्स की रिचार्जिंग में हम लोग 5 से 6 लाख रुपए खर्च करते हैं, और इसमें हमें स्पेशलिस्ट लोग लगाने होते हैं। वाटर एड एक संस्था है, वाटर एड के साथ उसमें कन्वर्जेंस में वेल्स को रिचार्ज करने की स्ट्रेटजी हम लोगों ने बनाई हुई है। तो वाटर एड एक स्पेसिफिक तरीके से वेल्स को और रूफटॉप रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग इनको ऑर्गेनाइज करता है। तो ये वेल्स वगैरह वो करते हुए नीचे से इजीली हम रिवर जो आसपास का वाटर है उसको हम रिचार्ज करने में सक्सेसफुल हो पाए। चलिए आगे प्लीज, नेक्स्ट। ये आगे, हाँ ठीक है, वेल्स हो गए। चलिए आगे, नेक्स्ट। ये डीएम ललितपुर है, जिनको मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ वाटर रिसोर्स ने अवार्ड किया था अलॉन्ग विद द डीएम चित्रकूट। चलिए आगे प्लीज। ये सही रिवर है हरदोई की। चलिए आगे, लाइए आगे। इसमें हाँ चलिए ठीक है। तो सही में हरदोई में भी एक मेजर रीजनरेशन प्रोजेक्ट काम चलाया गया। हरदोई के वहां के सीडीओ, डीएम एंड डीसी मनरेगा, इन लोगों ने इरिगेशन डिपार्टमेंट, माइन इरिगेशन डिपार्टमेंट, इनको साथ लेते हुए, और ये जो रेवेन्यू डिपार्टमेंट होता है, क्योंकि लैंड का आइडेंटिफिकेशन, उनकी जो एक्सट्रैक्शन बेल्ट है, उसको रेवेन्यू डिपार्टमेंट लुक आफ्टर करता है। तो एक ये मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी क्योंकि प्रोजेक्ट होता है, तो सारे डिपार्टमेंट्स को डीएम साथ लाके उसको रिजुवनेट करने की कोशिश करते हैं, एंड वो सक्सेसफुल हो भी जाता है जब उसको 7-8 महीने लगातार उस प्रोजेक्ट को चलाया जाता है। चलिए आगे प्लीज। ये सही रिवर की कुछ फोटोग्राफ्स हैं काम करते हुए। बड़ी संख्या में यू कैन सी कि बड़े लंबे स्ट्रेच पे एक लीनियर फैशन में लेबर लगाई जाती है, सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग को फॉलो करते हुए, मास्क वास्क लगाते हुए ये लोग अपना काम करते हैं। इसमें सबका जो विमेन, ओल्डर पर्सन, फिजिकली चैलेंज्ड, जितने भी लोग हैं वो हमारे यहाँ पे बेसिकली इसमें मनरेगा में बहुत लिबरली इन लोगों को काम मिलता है। ये उसका चलिए आगे। यस, तमसा तमसा नदी जो कि फैजाबाद अयोध्या में है, उसमें भी मेजर काम हुआ, एंड तमसा को भी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने अवार्ड किया फाइनली। चलिए आगे, नाउ टाइम इज एंडिंग, आई एम कीन। सिरसा फिरोजाबाद में है। फिरोजाबाद का जो जिक्र है वो यूपी की लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली तक में होता है कि वहां पे बहुत ही एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी काम फिरोजाबाद में सिरसा नदी पे हुआ है। इसमें टोटल 22 किलोमीटर को रिवाइव किया गया है, और लगभग 1 करोड़ रुपए खर्चा हुआ है इस पूरे काम में। चलिए प्लीज, नेक्स्ट लाइए। ये सिरसा की उसी फिरोजाबाद की जहां पे वर्कर्स लगाए गए उसकी फोटोग्राफ है। चलें आगे। यस, चलिए आगे। यस, ठीक है, चलिए। ठीक है, उसकी चल रही है बाराबंकी कल्याणी, जिसका जिक्र मन की बात में बेसिकली हुआ था। ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने जून 2020 में इसको हाईलाइट किया था कि जो रिवर रिजुवेशन प्रोजेक्ट यूपी में चल रहे हैं, खासतौर से ये जो कल्याणी नदी वाला बाराबंकी में चल रहा है, इसने बहुत अच्छा काम ना केवल उनको जो रिवर्स माइग्रेशन के पीड़ित लोग हैं उनको दिया है, बल्कि वहाँ वाटर कंजर्वेशन में भी एक अभूतपूर्व भूमिका निभाई है। चले आगे प्लीज। ये बिफोर आफ्टर के फोटोग्राफ्स, मतलब पहले बुशेस वगैरह ज़्यादा थी, सफाई, अनइवन लैंड था, वाटर का जो वो कैरिंग कैपेसिटी कम थी। उसके बाद उसको जो है रीजूनेट किया गया, तो वाटर कैरिंग कैपेसिटी बढ़ी, आसपास के जो लैंड थी वो प्रॉपर शेप में आई, बुशेस वगैरह हटाई गई। तो वो एक जो रिवर थी, वो रिवर एक देखने लायक एक प्रोजेक्ट सामने प्रेजेंट किया जा सका। चले आगे प्लीज। ये कल्याणी के बारे में कुछ डिस्क्रिप्शन जो कि मीडिया ने दिया है उसका जिक्र है। चलें आगे, नेक्स्ट। ये ओके, ठीक है, चलिए चलिए, परफेक्ट। नाउ आई थिंक द टाइम इज एंडिंग। हाँ चलिए आगे प्लीज। ये वाले तीन मैंने इसलिए रखे हैं जानबूझ के कि वो जो प्राइस मैंने पहले बताए थे वो मिले थे हमें 18-19 के आसपास। ये वाले प्राइस हमें पिछले 19-20 में मिले हैं कोविड से पहले। कोविड के काल में कोई प्राइस सेरेमनी वगैरह नहीं हुई गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की। इसमें अयोध्या की तमसा रिवर, हरदोई में वाटर कंजर्वेशन के वर्क के लिए, एंड मिर्जापुर की कर्णावती रिवर को नेशनल अवार्ड सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने दिया है। चलिए आगे प्लीज। और ये सारे काम 95% फंड्स जो है इसे मनरेगा के लगे हैं। बहुत कम फंड्स किसी दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट के आए हैं। टेक्निकल एक्सपर्टीज भी मनरेगा की थी, जो कि मैं एज ए मनरेगा ऑफिसर ऑफ यूपी मैं थोड़ा सा उसको रिपेंट करता हूं, थोड़ा सा उसको रिटेलिएट करता हूं कि मनरेगा के पास एक्सपर्टीज रिवर को कम से कम रिजुनेट करने की नहीं है। बट हमारे पास कैपेसिटी है, फाइनेंशियल कैपेसिटी है, हमारे पास फिजिकल कैपेसिटी है, लेबर हमारे पास है, इन्वॉल्वमेंट हमारे पास है। तो वो जो पर्टिकुलर चीज है, वो जो पैशन है लोगों का, लोकल लोगों का, उसको एनकैश किया जा सकता है। चलिए आगे। ये हरदोई वाला जो वाटर कंजर्वेशन की कुछ फोटोग्राफ्स है। चलिए आगे। हाँ चलिए इसको तेजी से रश थ्रू कर लेते हैं, है ना। देन वील कम टू दैट सेकंड स्लाइड, चित्रकूट की, देन कुंवर नदी, पांडु नदी का फोटोग्राफ कानपुर देहात में। चलिए आगे। मनवर नदी गोंडा। चलिए आगे। नाद नदी वाराणसी। चलिए आगे। फिरोजाबाद सिरसा। चलिए आगे। पुरुहा इटावा, यस यस। वरुणा वाराणसी, यस। बाराबंकी, यस। सही, हरदोई, यस। चलिए तमसा, ठीक है। अब वो सेकंड वाली स्लाइड पे लाइए। वो सेकंड वाली स्लाइड थी हमारी जिसमें मैंने यस, उस पे प्लीज लाइए एक बार। मैं बिकॉज हमारे इस समय एक इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेक होल्डर्स सब इस वीसी से और इस कॉन्फ्रेंस से जुड़े हुए हैं। तो मैं बस केवल 4 बिंदु आई थिंक मेरे पास है। अगली स्लाइड लाइए, अगला वाला नेक्स्ट लाइए इससे। यस, ये मैं इसमें एज बिकॉज सारे जो इसमें पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं, स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, वो इस समय जुड़े हुए हैं हमारे साथ। तो मैं इसको एज ए मनरेगा अफसर आपके सामने रखना चाहता हूं कि हम लोग कैसे, किन पॉइंट्स पे फेस करते हैं प्रॉब्लम। जैसे मैंने पहले लिखा है प्रोजेक्ट आइडेंटिफिकेशन। हम लोगों को स्टेट लेवल पे ये एग्जामिन करने में कि कौन कौन सी रिवर्स हम लोग इस साल लेंगे, इसके लिए बहुत स्ट्रगल करना पड़ता है। क्योंकि हमारे पास स्टेट लेवल पे ऐसी कोई नो हाउ नहीं है कि हम जीपीएस या फिर जीआईएस के थ्रू ये पता लगा सकें ये वाली रिवर्स जो है ट्रेडिशनली चल रही है। तो 360 डिग्री मॉडल का मतलब ये हुआ कि हम पहले उन प्रोजेक्ट्स को पता लगा लें कि भाई हमारी 25 रिवर्स पिछले साल थी, उससे पिछले साल 19 थी, उससे पिछले साल 6 थी। अब हम 250 लेंगे या 350 लेंगे या 500 लेंगे, हम क्या करेंगे बेसिकली। तो ये जो प्रोजेक्ट आइडेंटिफिकेशन से लेके देन उसको 360 डिग्री मॉडल में कि अब उसकी डीपीआर बनाते हैं, एंड देन सबको सारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट जितने ब्लॉक्स, जितने जीपीस उनको एक्टिवेट करते हैं, ग्राम प्रधानों को एक्टिवेट करते हैं और लेबर लगाना शुरू करते हैं। तो ये वाला स्पेसिफिक पार्ट जो है, जो कि जो हमारी टेक्निकल इस समय जेंट्री टेक्निकल जो एक्सपर्ट्स यहाँ पर हैं, मैं आई एम पुटिंग फॉरवर्ड दिस इज ए प्रॉब्लम विच इज फेस्ड बाय मनरेगा ऑफिसर्स। ये सब पीसीएस ऑफिसर्स हैं बेसिकली जो मनरेगा में काम करते हैं, मतलब वो मैक्सिमम टेक्निकल नॉन टेक्निकल बैकग्राउंड के होते हैं, तो नॉट नेसेसरी कि उनको सिविल इंजीनियरिंग में बहुत एक्सपर्टीज हो। देन टेक्निकल नो हाउ, जैसे डीपीआर मेकिंग वगैरह, हम लोग वेबकॉस के पास गए थे, उन्होंने बहुत ही ह्यूज मनी उसके लिए डिमांड किया, हम लोग नहीं दे पाए, हमें उससे डिसोसिएट करना पड़ा वेबकॉस से। तो वेबकॉस एक इंटरनेशनल एजेंसी है, वो इंटरनेशनल प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाती है, तो वो अब उनको लगा कि मे बी कि हम लोग देने को तैयार हो जाएंगे। तो बट हमारे को एक ये वाला जो इशू है कि हम प्रोजेक्ट आइडेंटिफाई करें और देन हम उसका बहुत सिस्टमैटिक प्लानिंग कर लें एंड एग्जीक्यूट कराना, वो फिर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव प्रॉब्लम रह जाती है उस टेक्निकल चीज को एग्जीक्यूट कराना। तो ये दो पॉइंट जो है इंटरकनेक्टेड है, फर्स्ट एंड टू सेकंड। देन इम्प्लीमेंटेशन इश्यूज हैं। किसी भी रिवर का जुरिस्डिक्शन 4-5 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में होता है। सपोज हमारा एक डीएम जो है वो एक्टिव है और वो जो है वो पैशनेट है वाटर कंजर्वेशन के वर्क के लिए, नॉट नेसेसरी कि अगला डीएम भी उतना ही होगा या अगला बीडीओ भी उतना ही होगा या अगला ग्राम प्रधान भी उतना ही होगा। तो हमें ये एक अगला वो रहता है, इशू रहता है जिसको हमें कोऑर्डिनेट करना होता है अदर देन टेक्निकल वन। तो ये पूरे वाले जो तीनों इशू ऐसे हैं कि जो हमें ओवरबर्डन कर देते हैं कि हम सारे डीएम्स को एक्टिवेट करें, सारे सीडीओस को एक्टिवेट करें, उसके बाद बीडीओस, उनके बाद ग्राम प्रधान, पंचायत सचिव, इन सबको एक लाइन पे लाएं। अब देन इस वाले जो पॉइंट ए से शुरू हुई रिवर पॉइंट जेड पे खत्म हुई, तो जेड से काम शुरू होगा, फिर ए की तरफ वो प्रोसीड करेगा। तो सिस्टमेटिक उसको बनाना, तो ये वाला एक पार्ट जो है, बिकॉज ह्यूमन एफर्ट इसमें हो रहा है, पूरा इन्वॉल्व हो रहा है, हमें इसमें बहुत ही अच्छे गाइडेंस और हैंड होल्डिंग की जरूरत है। हमारे पास कुछ एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं जिसके थ्रू हम लोग फ्लरिश कर सकते हैं आसानी से। मनरेगा में जो ये वाला लिखा है वन टाइम रिहेबिलिटेशन वाला एंगल, ये एक्ट में दिया हुआ है। ये बेसिकली बाद में कुछ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर्स आए हैं, तो उसमें ये कहा गया है कि किसी भी रिवर पे मनरेगा केवल एक बार काम करेगा, उसके बाद नहीं जाएगा। हम लोग इसको गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से रेसिस्ट करते हैं। ये भी एक हमारा थोड़ा सा शॉर्ट कमिंग टाइप का, ये रेस्ट्रिक्टिव मोल्ड है ऑपरेट करने काम को करने का। कि एक बार के बाद मनरेगा उस पर नहीं जाएगा। अब सब ये वाली चीज हमने सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के साथ उठाई है कि हम लोग एक वन टाइम नहीं जाएंगे, हम हर 3 साल पे जाएंगे वहां पे काम करने की। वो सिल्टेशन हो जाता है, वो मिट्टी भर जाती है उसमें। हर 3 साल पे हम लोग उसके जो रिवर बैंक्स हैं या प्लांटेशन है उसको रिव्यू करेंगे। तो एक ये हमारा थोड़ा रेस्ट्रिक्टिव है। देन एक्सचेंज ऑफ आइडियाज जो है, जैसे कि ये पहली बार ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म मुझे मिला है जिसमें मैं एक्सचेंज ऑफ आइडिया अब सुनने भी वाला हूं, कुछ चीजें मैं बता भी रहा हूं कि एक्सचेंज नहीं हो रहा है। जैसे कि हमें राजस्थान के साथ कोऑर्डिनेट करना चाहिए, हमें आंध्र प्रदेश के साथ कोऑर्डिनेट करना चाहिए, या फिर उनको अपने सेमिनार्स में बुला के उनके साथ उनकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग शेयरिंग करनी चाहिए। कर सकते हैं, मतलब ये इट्स अ टेक्निकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव इशू कि कुछ टेक्निकल हम लोग सब साथ लगेंगे, आईटी के जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं हम लोग साथ में, मनरेगा के लोग लगेंगे, उधर से इरिगेशन डिपार्टमेंट, माइनर इरिगेशन डिपार्टमेंट, फिशरीज डिपार्टमेंट सब आएंगे, एंड देन विल सिट टुगेदर एंड विल मेक इट ए होलसम मॉडल। हम इसको ऐसा नहीं बनाएंगे कि केवल वो वहां पानी इकट्ठा हो गया। वाटर लीड्स टू लॉट ऑफ डेवलपमेंट, वाटर से सारा प्रोस्पेरिटी वाटर से ही आती है। फ्लोरा एंड फोना हो, चाहे वो एनिमल हस्बेंड्री हो, सब फिशरी वगैरह सब उसी से चलता है। तो ये जो एक्सचेंजेस हैं इसके, इसको थोड़ा सा और फ्रीक्वेंट बनाया जाना कि हर क्वार्टर में एक्सचेंजेस हो रहे हैं, हर 2 मंथ्स पे आइडियाज के एक्सपीरियंस के एक्सचेंज हो, ये हमारे लिए बहुत फ्रूटफुल हो सकता है। तो ये इतना मैं आपको अपनी बातें बताना चाहता था बस। थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन। थैंक यू रोहित।
Excuse me, sir. While appreciating your great contribution to revival of different rivers in the state, I would like to ask you one thing. Do you have any plan for the channelization of Assi River, which has been originated from Prayagraj, Durvasa Rishi Ashram to Varanasi? Because scientifically we have evidence of paleo channels throughout the route. So it would be better if we channelize it from Prayagraj to Varanasi.
See, we are never negative for any kind of proposal, especially for the water conservation. And Assi River has not been taken up so far by us. As I said, जो technical data, the kind of like database, we are lacking in that, having a database ki how many rivers we have in this in UP. We only have taken up 25 till now. Maybe there are 350 rivers. Maybe there are 550 rivers. So then systematically we can start taking away these rivers will be taken in this year, then these rivers will be taken the next year and so on. So this Assi River, as this seminar, this conference is on Assi River and Varuna River, we will again revisit what like things are to be done, are remaining in Varuna River, and why we can't take Assi River. So we are very much keen. I'll talk to the concerned officers in Varanasi and Prayagraj as well. We should take up Assi River. We should deploy our maximum resources and maximum manpower there. I'll ensure that this will definitely, MGNREGA will move towards Assi River as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
From my side, the presentation is completed. Now I think the chair can. Thank you everyone for giving your precious time and patiently hearing me. I think chair is not audible. Your mic is off. I can see from I think chair that from IIT BHU somebody is speaking, but it's not audible.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, we are muted. So I want to know whether Shri R.R. Mishra, DG NMCG, has joined us. Looks like he has not joined us. So he is actually the session chair, and we just wanted to start the proceedings in right time. And that's what we invited Shri Yogesh Kumarji to make his presentation. I must hand over the session to the co-chair, Dr. Prithvish Nagsar. Sir, you please hold the proceedings from now. And before the Commissioner MGNREGA leaves us, I will request you to please.
Actually, I'm not planning to leave. I'm sorry to say, I'm not planning to leave this meeting. But okay, actually, I'm an election observer. I'm an election observer in Dadar Nagar Haveli presently.
Okay.
I'm not in UP right now. So for last 12 days I've been here in Dadar Nagar Haveli. So I got like half an hour so
Okay.
कि मैं इसको चाहता हूँ कि I want to be the part of this elite gentry, this elite discussion.
So nice of you.
I requested the organizers ki.
Yeah. So Yogesh Kumar sahab,
Can I say something?
Please, please.
Hello, can I say something?
Yes, Professor Tare, sir.
Okay. It was very interesting to listen to the presentation from the commissioner, and I am very much delighted that such kind of work is going on. And from IIT Kanpur and Ganga side, we have been requesting NMCG and the government to make river conservation and restoration to be formally included in the MGNREGA program. Okay, so that almost everybody, you have set an example, but I think this needs to be done everywhere, particularly in UP for many, many small rivers. I think so. This is very encouraging, and I am sure you can lead us and guide us and how MGNREGA can be useful for, of course, Varuna and Assi that we are looking at. If it is within your jurisdiction, I'm sure you can take the initiative, but not, then you can kind of motivate others to do that, so that we are in a position to recover all our small rivers. And as you have rightly said, it is important to do it more scientifically and technically sound. And that's probably the limitation that you have mentioned. And I think with this conference that is being organized, the purpose is basically that we should be able to have a good alliance between academic institutions and the administration, so that whatever investment that we make we get the value for the money and the efforts that we spend. So it's very, very important, and then it will become more sustainable effort, because this is not one-time effort that we need to do. This is an ongoing effort, because many of the activities that you have done, of course, it is required one time, but that has to go on forever. Okay, and I think this can be an ongoing activity under MGNREGA for many small rivers and this thing, and with proper scientific input, backup, and also support for monitoring the activities as an independent agency, so that everybody is confident about what we are doing is going in the right direction. So thank you again for this.
Thank you, sir. So I want to announce that the session chair, Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, sir, the DG NMCG, has joined us. So yes, sir, you are the session chair, and the co-chair is Dr. Prithvish Nag, sir. So it will be better that I hand over the session to both of you to conduct. Before I hand it over formally, there are a couple of minutes I will request my HOD, my convener of this conference to speak to you, Professor Prabhat Kumar.
I think तारे साहब बोल रहे थे तो उनको कंप्लीट करने देते, बीच में हम लोग we are just disrupting the session, so I thought that already session is going on, but anyway, I leave it to you.
I have completed. I was just commenting and supplementing what the commissioner has said.
Okay,
So
okay,
I think
okay.
I will get the term later on. So I think we leave to the conference organizers, so they can go ahead with whatever schedule that they have planned.
Right. No, I was only feeling I should not be suddenly disrupting because of joining. So it's okay. Please carry on.
Welcome, sir. Sir, welcome.
Namaskar, welcome.
Namaskar. Dr. Prithvish Nag, sir, is the co-chair. So, I mean, before I hand it over to him, I just wanted to convey that Commissioner MGNREGA, and I have been given to understand that he was very enthusiastically connected with us, and he wanted to there with us. And I'm happy that he has shown that he has already taken up some of the works which is connected with Varuna, and he is very much positively thinking about taking up some possible actions in river Assi also. From BHU side, we would like to support you. I mean, we have with us great professors who had spent their lifespan on these river systems and all the kind of requirements for that. As Professor Tare was saying, the academia is already involved in that. And so that is their life. So we would like to extend our help to you and feel comfortable, feel free to be in touch with us. We will always add some values to your already working programs. So this is the kind of, I wanted to assure you that from our side, and particularly the two tributaries which we are talking about today, River Varuna and Assi, this is going to be a success example for us. We are not going to make only Uttar Pradesh water positive, which since a few years back we are talking about. We will be trying to make our rivers really healthy and happy. So with these assurances from IIT BHU and BHU at large, I extend our cooperation to you, and you are welcome to discuss anything with us. Thank you. Thank you for your zeal and being with us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for recognizing, sir. We are completely with you, and I can assure we will be taking your help not only for Varuna and Assi. As you said, we want to make this UP water surplus, a water positive state. So we indeed require a particular database in which we can move on systematically through the in next 3-4 years. So there are some GIS planning which is going on by Ministry of Rural Development, but that GIS planning, I don't find it to be very scientific, and it is not useful also. I have communicated that thing to MORD. So by hand-holding from the IIT academicians, I am very much hopeful, I should say optimistic, that we can produce much better results than what we are doing now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yogesh Kumarji. Now, formally, I hand over the session to the session chair, Shri RHAR Mishra ji, and the co-chair, Dr. Prithvish Nagji.
Thank you. I think, first of all, let me really thank IIT BHU for organizing such a conference on river health. And I also welcome my co-chair, Nag Sahab, about whom we are all very familiar about his rich experience. And let me also apologize for being a little late. You know, there is a parallel meeting going on in NEERI Aayog with Vice Chairman, and some Environment Minister was also there. So I was attending that, and I may have to join some other session later on with some sort of UNEP program is there. So I think I was not able to join you people from earlier. But it's very important to see a conference like this, and it's also very happy for me at personal level to see a lot of old friends and colleagues, even if it is virtual meeting, but at least we are meeting so many of you in this conference. Before I hand over to Mr. Nag Sahab to carry the further discussion, I will take this opportunity to say a few words from my side and say my take on this entire thing. What's perhaps a few thoughts come to me. We have been working in Namami Gange mission for Ganga rejuvenation. And the way this whole mission got developed, it got a lot of support from academic institutions and IITs, and that is how perhaps we got a little larger vision of rejuvenation. Otherwise, we always talk about cleaning. Cleaning is part of rejuvenation, but cleaning is not rejuvenation. I mean, we have to look for cleaning plus, then it becomes rejuvenation. And then what just now Yogesh ji was talking, and then you people were also, Professor Tare also was talking, is about making UP water positive state. I think that's the very important thing, because ultimately the way we understand river, that has to change, that has to improve. And that is where the institutions like BHU, the institutions like IITs, I think you people can really play a major role in improving our understanding. And these kind of work cannot happen without a good collaborative approach. So I think the rejuvenating of a river, let's say, I will come to the smaller rivers just within a couple of minutes, but rejuvenating Ganga is not possible unless you look at all these aspects. And initially, the emphasis was upon the main stem of Ganga, as we all understand, because as long as the main stem is looking all these nalas and all those dirty things getting into the river, people's expectation will be that we must stop them. But stopping them, intercepting them, the river, the sewage drains, and then treating them, it's our vision, it's our aspiration is to do it as fast as possible. But is it possible to do it so quickly? It's not. Another thing is there's always a discussion about flow. So that's why in Namami Gange we are looking at improving at the pollution abatement situation, I mean the pollution control, and also ecology and flow related thing. And we started perhaps more projects on the main stem of Ganga, but I think for last 2 years we started shifting on the tributaries. And you have told me to also talk about the mid-Ganga tributaries. So primarily, I think, again, I will not get into all the tributaries because there are several of them. The context is more on Varanasi, so I will also talk more about the tributaries of UP and then nearby Varanasi, these tributaries. So what happened, I think we started taking up a lot of projects on tributaries mostly from 2018-19 onwards. First 2-3 years, we worked upon them. We also worked upon ecological flow, again started with the main Ganga, a notification was given and implementation has also started taking place, and there is a lot of learning in that. Now again, that's an area where there is a very good need of collaboration between academics, researchers and administration or the government to also look at the e-flow of different rivers. For Ganga we have done, for Yamuna some research is going on, NIH is working and several of you also participated in that study. Ram Ganga it's happening. So I think they are still big rivers. They are still not small rivers. Yamuna in its own right is a huge river. It's a very important river, as holy as Ganga. Similarly other rivers. But the real challenge what happens when we come to the further smaller tributaries. And as you were saying, I think all these tributaries, very unfortunate, but many of them have turned into Nala. I think, though without hurting anyone's feeling, but Assi Nadi is usually being talked in the district as Assi Nala. So I think that is a kind of situation, situation which is very difficult. And I can tell you, the rejuvenation of tributary is, I mean, easy as well as very difficult. Let me say why it is difficult. Because what happens, a river like Ganga still has a lot of flow and people recognize it as a river. But जब नदियाँ छोटी हो जाती हैं, when you are dealing with very smaller river and then suppose there is not much rainfall or then the water starts coming, they start getting dried up and their dilution capacity also becomes less, then suddenly there is a tendency for all of us to throw our dirt into that. And start not recognizing them as a river, but start recognizing them as some sort of wasteland, and then start throwing solid waste, start throwing a lot of other kind of garbage, and also sometimes encroachment. So basically the floodplain, I mean each river has a floodplain, and it's not only for Ganga and Yamuna that we talk about floodplain, there are floodplains of Assi also and Varuna also. But what happens, the way our urbanization takes place, the way we have lost respect for nature, respect for river, we start encroaching and then start developing all our cities, all the habitations along these rivers in such a way that the identity of these rivers start getting lost. And in fact, I am very happy that BHU is showing so much of interest to help us, because, and also Mr. Yogesh Kumar from MGNREGA, because now will come that how it is, if we put the right perspective, right priority, how it is easy also to do it, because the size is manageable. Lot of solutions can come at the local level, and that's why MGNREGA is perhaps a very, very important program, and then I'm quite sure that MGNREGA, a lot of small river rejuvenation work is happening in UP especially. A lot of small works can be done with the help of funding from MGNREGA. You really don't need very huge amount of money to come. Of course, I think as far as spending some money or supporting some activity from Namami Gange, it is very much eligible activity, because Namami Gange, though we may have priority or some annual action plan, but certainly all the rivers are included in the Namami Gange program, so that can also come. But what is necessary, see, the problem starts with at the local level. And that's why the solution should also start from the local level. That will be more sustainable. Always looking at Government of India funding or always looking at Government of India agency to come and solve the problem is not going to work in the long run. That's why our approach was also like, even if we are doing any construction, we are trying to bring some private party, private ownership and do it on the PPP so that the quality of work also increases. But the real challenge is to understand these smaller rivers, the Assi and Varuna. I'm quite sure, I think I will be comparatively very ignorant compared to the professors from BHU, who will be knowing much more about the geography, about culture, about the different kinds of identity of this river. But sometimes it is very, I mean, what is very paradoxical. Sometimes for these smaller rivers, there is a dispute about from where it starts. Sometimes the source is also lost. I mean, I am not telling something which is not correct. I mean, there are certain examples. And lot of effort goes to locate the source or the rejuvenate the source. So right from source to where they meet river Ganga or any other bigger river, I think that whole alignment has undergone so much of change because of our construction activity, because of our expanding of urban activity and other activity. I think tracing it back. So basically the challenge will be going back. And that is where the local administration and then the local universities, we are lucky to have an institute like BHU nearby for these rivers, where there will be a lot of knowledge. I know there are several very senior professors. Some of them are in the university, some of them might have retired, but the local knowledge, the kind of body of knowledge, the rich knowledge which is available in the university, in the area is tremendous. Now we have to harness that knowledge, we have to pool that knowledge and bring at one place, and then have a kind of common point of action. And that is where I think one source, one institution which we have created under Namami Ganga is District Ganga Committee. So DM gets a kind of formal role in rejuvenation of these rivers. So I think that is one institution. Now again, convergence, how it will come, District Ganga Committee chaired by DM also has several members of other line departments. Now to rejuvenate this river is going to be a multi-sectoral activity. So I think coordinating all these line departments will be very, very useful. And what happens, the district gets major funding from some of the urban mission. It may be Swachh Bharat mission, it may be Amrut, it may be Namami Gange. Namami Gange has no limitation of only being in the urban area or rural area. It can work as long as wherever river is there, Namami Gange is there. So I think that kind of administrative funding problem is not there, but MGNREGA is a very, very important component, and that's why I am in touch with the Rural Development Secretary here in Government of India also. Rejuvenation of a small river, 2 years back in their guideline, we got it included as a priority item, because so that the priority is given to the water sector and also a small river rejuvenation, water body rejuvenation. So that is very much part of the guideline. That's also very much part of the priority of MGNREGA scheme. So I think that convergence we have to put, but understanding the floodplain for these small rivers, what we can do to delineate the floodplain, to demarcate the floodplain, what we can do to understand then the vegetation, what was the native vegetation, native species which were there. We have tried to get it done with the help of FRI for the main Ganga. I think the different kinds of native species and all that, the whole DPR is ready. Maybe that could be also referred to a group of academicians or group of researchers. I think as we perhaps go ahead, we can discuss about these kind of activities, and after the conference you get all these ideas. Maybe we need to sit together and develop that kind of action points. So now what is the state of forestry? What is the state of vegetation or catchment area vegetation along the river? What is the riparian biodiversity? I think what all has happened for us, there will be need to have a kind of good scientific study. And then while that study is going on, the administrators or the district administration and also NMCG team, we can also simultaneously keep on working out about interventions. Suppose this is the problem, this is the diagnosis by the technical people, scientific people, the interventions, what all will come and how they will come will be one thing. Then what kind of these drains and other things are there which is bringing the wastewater into this? See, now what we are doing, we are trying to do end of pipe treatment, so that we are seeing that the drains are tapped before they get into Ganga, and then we are diverting it to one of the STP, either Dinapur STP in case of Varuna or Ramna STP in case of Assi. But what will happen, this will ensure that the untreated sewage is not getting into Ganga. But if you look at Varuna and Assi separately, in their own identity, we have to do more than what we are doing at Dinapur or Ramna. We have to look at this river stretch right from beginning to end, and how we can reshape this whole stretch, this channel, the natural channel. It's not correct to tell them a channel or canal, because river is a river, and the flow has to be restored, and its own identity has to be restored. And by that identity, I also may the documentation of its history, documentation of its cultural heritage. I think we will have to also work, one group can work upon these issues. And an institute like BHU has knowledge, different branches of knowledge, and several people will be able to record that, so that we again connect people with Varuna and Assi as pious river as they were at one point of time, and even today people consider them pious and holy. But physically their shape has to improve, so that, I mean, all along the river, somewhere ecologically you have to develop some riverfront, you have to restore some vegetation, you have to bring some sort of look at the biodiversity, and basically see that, because if you are only catching at the end of Varuna or at the end of Assi, and then that is perhaps saving Ganga. But the people who are living along this Varuna and Assi, they are still going to see the sewage flowing into the drain or the river. So that's not a very acceptable situation. So I think when we do this kind of a study, what can be done to look at these rivers, and then different stretches we will have to divide. Can we do some sort of biodiversity park kind of thing? Is there a kind of some area which can be developed in that way? And whatever we do, I think I am telling it with lot of conscious knowledge and experience of this mission, and even my experience in urban development department. We have to basically do minimum concretization. I mean, whatever is the bare minimum necessary for the strength, for the structural strength of construction, we should actually learn to build with nature, because that's the only way we can perhaps restore these small rivers, and that will also be economic, because we should not unnecessarily raise the estimate of these things. If we leave it to a very typical engineering way of looking at things, as I have seen some of the ghats which we have also created, perhaps we could have done with little more ecological design. We are also trying to change, but I think we have to look at the riverfront design in a more ecological way, more natural way, and especially for the smaller rivers, that's going to work, because first of all, it is something which is right. It is also something which is doable at the local resource level. Then when you do it, how we can make the community sensitive about this whole approach, so that it's not that in one go, let us say 2 years, 3 years, we do some construction, we do some plantation, etc., etc. But if you leave it to the district administration, if you leave it to Namami Gange mission, if you leave it to some official department to continuously fund it, it's not going to succeed, because someone has to be vigilant at the local level. And that kind of situation, perhaps, I think how we can prepare some sort of river sensitive communities. We already have some cadre developed under Namami Gange. There are some Ganga Praharis, there are Ganga Mitra, there are some people, some awareness has come. But with the kind of help of local people, local university leaders, I think that kind of body or some sort of trust, some sort of local trust, local organizations will have to be also thought of. More like a kind of from managerial perspective to sustain whatever we are doing it. So I think that is something which is very important. River health, again, I think perhaps in the further deliberations, a lot of technical discussion will take place. how we really define river health. We all know about BODs, DO, COD and all those parameters, but going little deeper into that, I think the more ecological definition of river health, perhaps we need to also arrive at, and then keeping in mind all these things. First, whether it is a large river or a small river, we have to enlarge the definition of river. We have to enlarge the scope of the river. River includes its own water, its own flow, its aquatic life, its riparian biodiversity, its vegetation, its floodplain, and many other things. So I think once you define all these components of the river and then look at their health and then see as a kind of integrated way what can happen. Do we have the right kind of mapping available? Do we have some historical data about the past of the river? Because every river has many pasts. So I think, can we go back into its past and then build up a kind of cultural identity? River is not just a kind of water body. I think river has its own identity, its own culture, its own kind of character, and that will actually differentiate. The Varuna will be different from Assi. They will be different from Ganga. Ultimately, a small river join big rivers, and then they lose their identity once they join. Similarly, the major river also lose their identity once they become ocean. So I think that is the kind of system which will go on. But I think a conference like this, a deliberation, a brainstorming like this will be very, very useful. It will bring together the administrators, the local administration, sensitize them, and through them, maybe the community, and bring the right kind of nexus, bring the right kind of collaborative approach with different people. The co-chairman Nag Sahab, he has lot more in the knowledge about the mapping, about the what kind of information is available for which river. We are also doing some project now with the Surveyor of India. That's on the main Ganga. Of course, 10 kilometer we are looking. So maybe some part, as a part of that project, also some work will be useful for Assi and Varuna also. But how exactly, what is the best way to go through it? What are the various options to do it? And how we can be more comprehensive, at the same time look at certain short-term goals and also certain long-term perspective, because rejuvenation of a river is primarily a long-term exercise and primarily also a kind of continuous exercise, because it's not one-time job. It's not going to be complete in 2 years. Okay, we can complete few projects. As I say, we can complete few STPs, we can complete few guards, we can complete few projects. But rejuvenating a river and keeping it rejuvenated is going to be a continuous process. So I think that's also something which we have to build into our thinking and also carry forward this message for everyone else to look at. So basically, I think I am very happy because some of the people who are going to speak about different subjects are also going to talk about the multidisciplinary nature of this work. I have tried to flag some of it. It's not going to be complete what I am saying, but I think let's try to look at the kind of multi-sectoral, multidisciplinary approach. In fact, there is a need for us to develop. I mean, this is perhaps the best forum to talk about it. Let's try to develop river science as a branch of knowledge. See, river science as a kind of holistic science, scientific. This is not to also say science, because some of it will be also humanities. But a kind of river science, if we say, it's a kind of thing which will be a kind of combination, a kind of mix. It's so lot of different specialization. When they come together, then you can understand river and develop a river science which will be in a position to actually take care of the river health in the long run. So I think perhaps we have to also think in that direction about how we can also develop such kind of course, some kind of sensitization in our thing. Can we think of developing some electives like that for our engineering students? Can we sensitize them? How we can think of different kind of planning for river cities? Like Varanasi is a river city. I think there are a number of rivers in Varanasi. So what kind of planning we are doing? Can we think of our master plans becoming water sensitive? Can we think of our master plans becoming river sensitive? Can we think of river fronts mixing with the city? Because city and river have to go through together. Often what is happening, cities are growing so big Like smaller rivers really face it. The cities actually grab them, and river is lost, and city grows. So I think that is not something which is very, very desirable. That's not something which the humanities will be able to survive in the long run. And I think this is the time perhaps we have to change. We have to give respect to the river. We have to give room for the river. We know we must learn how to build with nature and then survive together. So I think that is some ideas I thought. And I think in this session, I also feel that several other professors are there who would be sharing their ideas. So I look forward to listening to some of them. And I also request Nag Sahab to take over from here and kindly carry forward the further proceedings with the help of course, the university authorities and the officers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mishra ji. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. You have raised very, very valid issues, and I'm also aware of the recent collaboration and cooperation which you are doing with Survey of India, which is required, and the two deliberations here also indicate that proper mapping is required for restoration, for monitoring, and for the ecological issues, etc., which you have mentioned here. Definitely, the coordinators and the organizers of this event will look into the possibility of having a river science course or some elective course, as you have mentioned, and see that how this science can be more useful for the rejuvenation of the rivers. Friends, now as per the list, perhaps is Dr. Rakesh Kumar still around of CSIR, NEERI? Dr. Rakesh Kumar, can the organizer tell me?
No, sir, he could not join because some health issues. Today morning, I got information about that, so he not be.
Then I move to Professor Basant Maheshwari. Is he around? Professor Basant Maheshwari.
Yeah, I think he's
Hello.
there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Please carry on. You are requested to make your presentation.
Okay.
Bolo.
I just need to share the screen. Just a minute.
I think as per the program, 15 minutes are for you. So you have to complete it in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just sharing the screen. Just
okay.
Some issue there. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I have to just give me. I have to log in again. Something not working.
Okay. Meanwhile, if Professor P.K. Singh has to make some announcements, will this proceeding be published, or any idea of what will be the follow-up action?
Sir, I just wanted to share with DG NMCG that in the meantime, during these efforts, we have prepared a volume of all the published work, and we have compiled whatever reports and other things are available with us on river Varuna and Assi, and that through Professor Tare, we will like that it reaches to NMCG for the kind of reference and guidance in this direction, how we should move ahead. Along with this record, we will also try to summarize whatever knowledge we get, whatever advices and other things we are getting from this audience. We will be sharing, and then we will seek how to move in this direction. In addition, we also want that we should align with, along with the academic institutions, we are involved in those. So what kind of database requirements are there, and where we should focus our energy, how we should engage our human resources available with us, so that this national program of Clean Ganga or rejuvenation of rivers that really gets momentum, and that really gets cooperation from our side. So this is one thing which we have done in this period, a compilation of all papers on river Assi and Varuna. This gives some database support for further designing in this direction.
Thank you, Professor Singh. If you can put all these details on the website so that others can also get the benefit.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I understand Professor
I'm ready
Maheshwari,
to present
Professor
now.
Maheshwari is ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
He will be speaking on transdisciplinary approach to river health, which is very close to what Mr. Mishra was mentioning about multidisciplinary approach. So over to you, Professor Maheshwari.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm sorry for some hiccups here with the online thing, but I really appreciate this opportunity, and I congratulate Professor Prabhat Kumar Singh ji to organize this second event, and I hope this will continue into the future. And my talk is about transdisciplinary approach to river health. So I just want to share what has gone wrong with our rivers. What has gone? So we started thinking rivers as a channels, drains, and used them as a mechanical, physical system. But in reality, they are living systems. And I think what Mishra ji said is very much, I think we forgot about those things. And we are taking too much water out of the rivers for agriculture, urban areas, and so on. And we're also using them as a wastewater drains. So discharging wastewater from industries and other sources. And on top of this, we have this climate change happening, and that can affect. And also the river health is a very complex aspect. And what is river health is not a simple definition, but it's a very complex, which has got social, cultural, spiritual, and all those values along with the science, technical things. And the people are part of the river health problem. And so people need to be part of the solution if we really want to get something sorted out. So river health degradation is a wicked problem. And when we say wicked problem, it's a very difficult one, complex and interconnected in nature. So you do one thing good and then it affects the other thing. So it's not very easy, and it's often difficult to explain or define. And often we cannot completely solve such problems. We can only improve the situation. And other examples of wicked problems are hunger, for example, obesity, and terrorism. So there's no single solution, but really need to do something together. And so river health improvement needs to have a different approach And rivers are also common pool resource. Everyone wants it, and no one wants to take the responsibility. And that's what is called the tragedy of commons. And examples of the tragedy of commons is groundwater, for example. In our country, the groundwater has been depleting and it has become a big issue. Air pollution and of course the water bodies. So these are the common pool resources. And so how can we avoid the tragedy of commons? And what we can do is we can avoid tragedy only by altering our values, the respect for what we have. And this means technical intervention is important, but we need to change the minds and hearts of the people to help us recover from the tragedy of commons. So we can think of all these technical interventions and bits and pieces and do lip service to the community. That's not going to help, but really we need to change something. And the solution to river health problems, some people suggest improve river health by enacting some law and criminalize if someone breaks the law. And some people have come up with technical solution such as water treatment, but will the above solution effectively work in reality and will be sustainable? Probably not, and that's what has been happening with the Ganga River. And we really need to rethink our approach. And so there are 4 or 5 different kinds of approaches: disciplinary, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary. So disciplinary, when we talk, is working with a single discipline. So I'm a hydrologist or I'm an environmental scientist and I know the solution. So I measure something and that will solve the problem. But in case of river, it may not be. Multidisciplinary, also people from different disciplines working together, each drawing their own disciplinary knowledge and contributing to tackle the problem. But they really work in silos. And that again will not really help for a longer term. And there is another approach which is interdisciplinary, where you work together, you start together, we work together, and really develop a synergy, and that has a better practical outcomes, but there is no commitment to rise above the disciplines. There's still people working different disciplines and doesn't help. But what we need is a transdisciplinary approach, which we rise above our disciplines or what we are trained in, but we focus on the problem and the solution and creating understanding and solution beyond the disciplinary perspective. So it's not hydrologist or economist or something like that, but the focus is on people and problem and all stakeholders that were involved and working together to define the problem and develop the solution. And what comes out of this sort of intervention is much more something new, something creative, and that has long life. So how do we improve river health? So transdisciplinary approach, bring together different stakeholders and consider technical, social, economic, cultural, environmental, spiritual, and other aspects together in a holistic manner to understand the problem and facilitate the solution, not create the solution, but help people to find the solution that will work. So the final thing, the way forward is engage, educate, and empower. So we need to work with people, we need to educate what they are doing, and then empower with science. So the science need to be converted into something the ordinary people can understand, the administrator or implementer can understand, and the politicians can understand, and really converting the science, river science, into something people can use and implement and improve the situation. So in conclusion, the take-home message is the meaning of river health is diverse and complex, and river health degradation is people-related problem, and people need to be part of the solution. They need to be put in the center, and they should own the problem and own the solution. And transdisciplinary solution is required for a sustainable solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Maheshwari, for your presentation, and also what you have mentioned also was mentioned by Mishra ji as well. There are multi-dimension to the river restoration, and you have rightly mentioned about these things. And transdisciplinary approach is required in order to understand the whole situation and then to take action. Now, thank you very much again. I move to the next person, Professor M.S. Babel from IIT Bangkok. Is he around? Professor Babel, AIT Bangkok.
Yes, I'm very much here. Can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
Please go ahead.
yeah, so I will start thanking the organizers and Professor Singh, who just approached me last night, and we agreed to speak for some 10-15 minutes or so. I'm trying to tell you something about how this economics and how the pro-poor management approach can help, and try to give some ideas about environmental flow. So let me share my screen. Just a minute. I'm not fond of using this. Share screen.
Yes, Dr. Arun, would like to say something? You have raised your hand. Dr. Arun.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, it is coming here. Not fully. But
Is it visible now?
not exactly.
Why? Entire screen, best your entire screen. How about now?
Oh, yes, now okay. Go ahead.
You can see my screen.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm going to speak something on socio-economic implications of restoring environmental flows. So let me start with what was just said by Professor Maheshwari, that healthy rivers, and healthy rivers is very, very complex. I'll try to give a very simple kind of definition and try to go to environmental flow. And I'll take one case study from Bangladesh, Tista River in Bangladesh, to define. So healthy river, as already mentioned, and most of us are aware of, most important thing is that how can we maintain the natural properties, natural flow regime of the rivers, because that is very important from the perspective of ecosystem goods and services. So there are 4 principles if we keep in mind. The principle number 1 is the habitat complexity, and number 2 is how this principle number 2, that natural flow regime is important to maintain the history patterns of the aquatic life. Principle number 3 is how can we have the lateral and longitudinal connectivity, and principle number 4 is related to especially the how it is important to maintain the flow regime in the rivers. Otherwise, we will be having invasion of the exotic and other species coming into the system. So basically, the definition is all known to us, but just to remind that it's very important to have quantity, quality, and the timing of the required flows in the river to maintain our ecosystem. But the question comes that how do we determine this environmental flow? How much water must be left in the river is the criteria we should use, or how much water we can extract from the ecosystem. So this is one question which we should answer ourselves. Now, the importance of ecosystem is also known to us. I will not repeat this here, but what I would like to just remind us that ecosystem services in terms of provisioning services, in terms of regulatory services, in terms of habitat and supporting services and cultural services are to be maintained. The benefits, there are several benefits of environmental flows from the social perspective, the economic perspective, and strategic aspect perspective. And this we have to consider. Let's take an example from recreational, aesthetic, cultural, spiritual, right, and economic benefits. So my case study, which I am going to present, before that, let me tell you one very important aspect is that we need to have some trade-off in terms of what is our economic benefits we would like to achieve and what are our societal choices, depending on how much water we can withdraw from the rivers. So the point here is that how much we can withdraw from the rivers rather than how much we should leave in the river. That is the point which would be emphasized here. Now I'll take one example where we will try to see the implications of in-stream and off-stream water users of a river basin in Bangladesh. So we are trying to assess the trade-off of allocating, basically is an allocation issue, allocating water for in-stream users and off-stream users. And we have used an economic kind of approach where we are relying our decision based on the marginal value of the water use as a main criteria to allocate water. This is a complex framework which we used, which we should try to understand that upstream users in terms of economic users, in terms of agriculture, in this particular case which I'm going to present, and in-stream users are very essential for maintaining the nature and also maintaining the livelihood of the poor. So the criteria which we have used, as I mentioned, is the marginal benefit which we can get from those users, whether it's upstream or in-stream users. Tista River Basin in Bangladesh is one of the important river basin for Bangladesh, which ultimately drains into Ganga, which is called Jamuna in Bangladesh. And the issues of diverting water for irrigation is very important there, which is the main upstream user of that. So there is an irrigation project which is about 100,000 hectares getting water from this Tista River, and in-stream users are the livelihood of the local people which are dependent on fisheries and small-scale navigation. So this is how we try to look at this. So we look at the flow data in the Tista River, which we can see is because of the upstream users, probably the more diversion in the upstream areas. So what we did is that we use a hydroeconomic modeling approach, where we had an economic module and a hydrologic module and an optimization tool. And then we estimated the environmental flow, monthly environmental flow, using an IHA approach, which is again known to us. So the basic approach is an optimization based on the marginal benefit functions. The consumer surplus is linked to, or marginal benefit is linked to, the flow in the river. So there's a lot of theory here. I will try to keep it minimum. We try to estimate the total benefit by using some production function, whether it's in-stream use or outstream use. And we estimated this total benefit coming from the water use for irrigation, mainly for rice there, is by using this residual impedance method. So it's a standard method which was used. We tried to estimate the total benefit and marginal benefit of in-stream users by doing the field survey, and the surveys were done with the fishermen and the boatmen. And we again try to link the benefits, the total benefit or the marginal benefit with respect to flows in the river. And then we use an optimization tool, which is again called Aquarius, and it is based on the sequential quadratic programming approach. So these are the quick results of how water is used in irrigation sector. The total benefit is estimated here as a function of the flow in the river, and there is an equation given here for the purpose of understanding that how the total benefit is dependent on the flow. Now, for the in-stream water users, we estimated the total benefit and marginal benefit based on the income of the individuals, which are considered through the questionnaire survey, the boatmen and the fishermen. So the boatmen and fishermen's income are again trying to link it with the flows in the river. We divided the flows to low flows and high flows, with very low flow and intermittent flow. So there are 4 categories of flows where it is very clearly seen that the fishermen they are having a higher income during the low flows, whereas boatman is getting higher income during the high flows. So this is the interest of the different stakeholders, and this is how we use the economic principles of estimating total benefit and marginal benefit of use of water in in-stream and navigation. And then we, this is most interesting slide, which I would like to emphasize on, that the total irrigation supplies are given here without environmental flow considered, and if environmental flow to maintain the requirements of the fishermen and the boatmen is considered, the benefit of irrigation is relatively much large, as you can see from here. The benefit coming from the in-stream users of water, but try to understand the livelihood of the people which is dependent on these 2 kind of activities which are done in there. So coming to the discussions and conclusions kind of thing, which I would like to emphasize here, is that the in-stream flow provides the livelihood to 1,000 people without requiring any massive investment in terms of capital investment and operation and maintenance cost. We did one very interesting study on this same data, that this irrigation project, which is providing livelihood to about 300,000 farmers, and we calculated the per capita income of those farmers, which came out to be about $0.4 per day per person, compared to the income which is received by the in-stream users of $1.6. And this is how we can try to understand the importance of the economics in deciding on allocating water for the environmental flow to maintain the. Now my way forward is the key essentials for restoring the environmental flow is that it is very, very case specific. So you need to work on a very case specific river or the sub river. Increased stakeholder participation is very important in order to restoring the environmental flow. Better understanding of ecosystem functioning and awareness of plurality of values and the accurate choice of the valuation method is very important to really bring in this environmental flow concept and the allocation concepts. Now, success or failure to mainstream these e-flows in water management will not only depend on whether it has a place in the national law and legislation, as Professor Maheshwari was mentioning, but to me it's very important to see that do we have the clear objective and scenario which are built on the multi-stakeholder consensus. And we must go for what we call adaptive management, where we learn by doing, which is very, very important when it comes to river health and environmental flow maintenance. So my proposal is that the environmental flow, as Mishra ji also mentioned, it should be a part of a broader package of measures on a river basin scale. And why not a pilot study on Varuna or Assi river basin is taken to show the importance of these economic implications of maintaining environmental flow. With that, I would like to stop here. Thank you very much. And I will be willing to take any questions if there are. Back to the chair of this. Yes, back to Nag Sahab.
Nag Sahab, you are mute.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Thank you very much for your interesting paper. The river which you have mentioned also flows in India,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it is quite a sizable river.
Right.
And the water flow within India is also quite high. How far your several models you have mentioned, like hydroeconomic model, IHA model, etc., this will be useful for a river which is almost dying type, Assi and Varuna, that we have to look into, and the models, how far it is applicable in our situation, where these rivers are small, mostly in urban areas or affecting the urban areas. Anyway, it gives us some insight that how the data and how issues are there related to the economy part of it. Social, cultural, or hydrological or chemical aspect we have been discussing, but the economic model is of course of our interest, and we surely the organizers will take care of that. So on behalf of the organizers, I thank you very much. Now, Professor Tare, would you like to make a presentation or should I go ahead? Professor Tare, please.
But somebody has raised hand.
Yes. Any questions? Who has raised the hand, please? Be precise.
I have a question, if you permit, please.
Yeah, be precise. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Babel, for explaining so well this environmental flow. But in practical, is it possible, and how it happens, maintaining environmental flow in a river, especially we know across the globe, everywhere rivers are dying. It's not only in India, even in other countries. Benefits we all know about what all benefits it can give to the aquatic and to the community. But how it happens in practice, in practical experience, is it possible? If you have some practical experience, and sometimes if you could share that, that will be of great benefit. And especially transboundary rivers. In that context, in a way, maintaining environmental flow of any river within the country is a challenge. And for transboundary river, it's all the more challenging. So if you could really throw some light sometime on how to do that, that will be of great benefit. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Babel, can you be very precise in answering this?
Yeah, my simple answer is my question which I raised at the beginning, that can you define whether you want to fix your amount of water you want to abstract from the river, or you want to define how much water you want to keep in the river? And that would answer to many of your points which you have raised. So it comes back to the point where stakeholders have to be brought in together. We have to explain them, a very simple example which I have given there to show that the boatman is getting 1.6. We have never made this kind of calculations. I can tell you that we always think that big projects are always good. Okay, we are investing money in the irrigation projects or whatever big projects, right? Can we think of what is the real revenue, river benefit, river is coming from those projects in terms of, it's a broad issue. We need to look at from all the aspects and angles, and then come to a point where we can decide on maintaining the environmental flow is important. There are many countries where now, at least I can tell you some examples where they have removed the diversion structures, because for them maintaining environment flow is important than diverting water for economic uses. I hope this answers. Otherwise, you can write an email to me and I'll be very happy to communicate further. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nag. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for raising the issues, environment versus economy, or the economic benefits. So that is a very, very vital issue. Thank you for that. Now, Professor Tare, would you like to say something? Would you like to make your presentation, or
I think the revised schedule, you are first, so I think Dr. Nag, you can make your presentation and then I will continue.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Now it is my turn to make not a presentation. I would like to discuss certain things. Both the first two speakers have mentioned about the database and about the scientific part of the whole thing, and I would like to emphasize on that also. Only India, has got several rivers, big rivers, and then they have got tributaries and small tributaries, which are also, these tributaries are also in the urban areas. They start, or they originate, or they are somewhere in the middle of the urban areas. So my focus will be more on the urban rivers, or dying urban rivers, or how to regenerate the urban rivers. This will be my focus. If I give you an example, say in Maharashtra, there are so many big rivers, Narmada, Tapi, Godavari, etc. But the second, third order, fourth order rivers, for example, in East Tapi East, there are 184 like that. In Godavari, 190. So these small riverlets or rivers, or now nalas, they are also a part of the urban areas. So the problem lies there. As we see that the urban areas, as was mentioned by Mishra ji, that urban areas are expanding at the cost of the dying rivers. So population in several states, including Maharashtra, etc., it is touching 50% population. Unfortunately, the census of this year has not been conducted. Otherwise, several other states would have crossed the 50% population as urban, which means the population is affected by them, and it becomes a political sensitive also, because vote bank lies there. So they have to take care of the urban areas concerning the rivers, or the vote bank as well. If you see Chhattisgarh area, another state, it has got basins and sub-basins and several ones, small ones, which are known as sometimes nalas, nadis, chows, etc. And they are relatively small. In technical terms, they may be 5th, 6th, 7th order streams, the lowest ones. But they have a role in urban planning, including flood, disaster, drainage, making of colonies, development of areas. All these things, they are very effective. So we cannot ignore saying that, okay, these are 6th or 7th order nalas. It has nothing to do with us. So there are examples where in urban areas, these rivers, which were rivers for one point of time, now became drainage or nalas. For example, if you go to Chennai, a big city like Chennai, there are Adyar or Kovam, like of earlier known as rivers. If you go to Mumbai, we see Tansa River, creeks, which are being encroached. If you see Kolkata itself, my own city, Adi Ganga, which was known, in the old maps we see Adi Ganga, but now it is Toli Nala. So this is how the names have been converted also, which was Mishra ji was mentioning about it. Jaipur also, in the western side and southern side, there are several nalas which has been encroached by the concrete development. In Chandigarh also, the Sukhma Nadi, the chows, and Patiala, Rao, etc., they are affected by the expanding urbanization. Mohali also, nearby Mohali, Choli Nala, Meerut, the Kali Nadi, in Noida, the Hindans River, these are all encroached by the urban development, and they are losing their status as river, and they are now basically Nala and drains only. In smaller towns also, not smaller, the medium-sized towns, for example, Dehradun, Rispana, Bindal, towns, they are also being encroached, and they have also become drain or nalas. Rishikesh also, the Chandrabhaga River joining Ganga, also same fate. Shillong, the hilly areas, Fahao Pling, and other small streams, they have lost their existence. But there are good examples also, like Savarmati in Ahmedabad. It has got a facelift now. But again, river Vidyadhari, which used to be near Salt Lake, it no longer it is known, no longer is there in the maps as well. So the fates of rivers are different, which we have to look into it. Fortunately, if we see unfortunately, we see the literature, we'll see that the issues which are being raised for the restoration of river, which are different. Norris and Toms, they have mentioned that the restoration is linked with the geomorphological studies, hydrological studies, chemical, acoustic, biota, etc. Some of these issues have been mentioned. But this physical part, the geomorphological part, which I would like to emphasize, are also equally important. We have discussed about the ecological and human values, the ecological health, the health of river ecosystem, societal values as well, ecological values. These things we have been discussing. There are several parameters, several indicators, several indexes to describe these things. So we talk about the index of biotic integrity, biological integrity, but the physical part, the geomorphological part, cross section of the river, channel pattern, the particular size of the channel, etc. These have to be looked into as well. The hydrological part also, where we require the topographical issues. The river basin, which was earlier was mentioned that a base is required to see that how many rivers have been taken care of by under NEERI or how many still remaining. So this digital database is required. Perhaps for UP, a digital database can be prepared. Up to first, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh order streams are shown, and which streams have been taken care of or taken already undergone some process. That's what we looked into. And then if we can integrate these rivers with the other parameters, biological or chemical, BOD or DO or nitrates or pH values, temperature. So perhaps that could be a well integrated solution. The hydrological factors, the river ecosystem, the sediment transportation, pollutants, etc., can be linked with the physical part of it, the hydrological part of it, and of course climate change has been discussed about it, and then it's looked into. Fortunately, on 15th of February this year, as a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat, and to have a vision of 5 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy, certain measures have been taken by Government of India. And this is to promote the geospatial activities in the country, to make it more liberalized. And the objective is to have jump in the economy, and which includes fisheries, deep sea mining, offshore oil and gas, Sagarmala project, deep ocean mission. All these things are related to blue economy. So the earlier presentation about the economic part, which I was more interested, we see that the Government of India is also emphasizing on the economic part of this activity. So there has been a deregulation of the mapping data, the geospatial data. And this has given a lot of opportunity for us that without showing the negative things which are security sensitive, we can use, we can play around the data, we can make the data useful, for development of economy. So all the problems which were coming earlier about the having a database, having the application of geospatial technology like GIS, remote sensing, GPS, etc. These are no longer existing. There are accuracy threshold for that. For horizontal accuracy is 1 meter, for vertical accuracy 3 meter, for gravity for 1 millical, etc. And for the water bodies also, there are several parameters also there. So that threshold have to be taken care of, and Indian entities are promoted to work on this. All the discussions which we have, which was indirectly it was mentioned, it was an indication that there has to be some base where we can operate, where we can understand, where we can correlate different features with topographical, with ecological, with economic, social, etc. So that type of database is becoming possible. So friends, this opportunity has come that the liberalization of geospatial data, the remote sensing data is also being liberalized, drone policy has changed, and there is an expanding network of the ports stations in the country, which is to give the location data at a very fine resolution. Hence, whatever latest technology we use like photogrammetry, LiDAR, etc., which can be integrated with the course stations, and the accuracies up to 10 centimeter can also be worked out. Mapping at 500 scale is also possible. So the small rivers like say Varuna and Assi, which requires detailed mapping, so with drone and with CORS, it is becoming possible to map these areas, see the natural flow, see the encroachment, and see what should be the strategy. So this is an opportunity which we can take care of now, and we can make a strategy for the development. There are some other experiments going on in this regard for detailed mapping. I mentioned about the CORS and with the drone. Surveyor of India has 2,500 ground control points distributed throughout the country, in which continuously operating reference system, they keep on releasing the data, which can be used, and as I mentioned, accuracy of few centimeters should be possible. There are also attempts for open topography, which means on the cloud you can integrate the topographical data and use this topographical data for monitoring different issues, which has been discussed today in all the presentations here. So that is also becoming possible. There are vector data sets, there are raster data sets which can be replaced, which can be updated on the cloud. Now, considering all these things, let us see that how we can focus on Assi River, which the Varuna River, some action is there, but Assi River actually requires some attention. If you see the difference between, say, Banaras Hindu University, the level from the mean sea level, the height of BHU, and the bank of Ganga River, it is 15-meter difference is there. If we can transport the water by one way or other, uplift the river and bring it water to BHU and bring it to the Vishwanath temple, which Malveji was dreaming about it. It will be possible to do that, and then to divert this river to one of the headwater of Assi, which is touching almost the BHU boundary. So the water can be lifted, it can flow up to the temple, and from temple it can take the natural course, just which is the one of the headwater which is touching BHU, and there is a depression, there is a water body there where water can be stored as and when required, and through the natural flow, the water can again go back to River Ganga. And in the process, what will happen that there will be sort of a constant water will be there in the Assi River. The banks can be both the sides of the banks can be developed, temples, ghats, even burning ghats, boating, all these things should be possible, and encroachment, etc., whatever can be removed, considering the information which can be received. So, on this sector, which is of religious importance, which is of topographical importance, which is important to Banaras Hindu University, where this event is, conference is being held, it is important that we consider this and use the digital topographical infrastructure for making strategy, for carving out different features, and to take advantage of that, and also how to implement the government policies, making best use of the opportunities being made this year by the government and also using the latest technology. So, micro solution, which has been talked about by Mishra ji, micro solution to urban rivers with detailed topographical infrastructure would become possible. And as I mentioned, that expanding urban areas, population concentrating there, 50% plus population is becoming urban. In several places, it is more than that. So it can take care of the population as well. And let us consider how to transform in the reverse direction. That is, earlier rivers were becoming nala. Let us see how, with this technology, nalas can become river. This should be the new model, and this model should be applicable to Varuna and Assi as well. So thank you very much for giving the patience hearing. What I would like to mention that the technological options are there, government policies are there, opportunity is now with us. We should make best of them. Thank you very much. Now may I request Dr. Tare to have his concluding remarks as well as what he wants to present. Professor Tare, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nag, for a very informative talk. Since the time is very limited, I was thinking of making a presentation, but I may skip some of the things. Basically, my topic that was given to me was basically the importance of health restoration of tributaries. I think right from the beginning of this conference, we have been talking about the importance only. So I don't think I need to add more to that. It is important that we start looking at the tributaries and the health of the tributaries. What is I would like to add is what is that is available to us to start talking about the health of the tributaries. And second thing is whatever yardsticks, methodologies are the solutions that we are talking about bigger rivers. To what extent are they applicable for the smaller rivers? Smaller river, I mean typically the lower order rivers, maybe second order, third order. The bigger rivers in their own right will be taken care of, like whether you talk of Ganga, Yamuna, Narmada, Tapi, or even, in my opinion, even Ram Ganga, or many of these rivers are very big rivers. Okay, so let us look at what is the thing that is available. All speakers so far have talked about merging many things because it is necessarily a multidisciplinary kind of thing. So the government has to pitch in. Government, I mean all kinds of governments, whether it is central government, state government, local government, and all kinds of stakeholders coming from various agencies. Okay, so it is very important that we look at what is available as a policy. It's not as a policy, we already have very important statements coming at the national level, that is vocal for local, Earth Ganga, basically meaning that we have to promote actions at the local level. So I think taking care of the tributaries and the local rivers is already on the agenda of the government, and this was very well reflected in the talk that was given by the Director General, Mr. Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, that they are looking at local issues. And vocal for local has a much larger meaning, including the impact on the climate change. Okay. Similarly, Earth Ganga is a very powerful statement given by the Prime Minister, and I will slightly elaborate on that. We already have many programs in place which we can take advantage of, whether it is Digital India, Make in India, Startup India, One District, One Product. So the foundation is already set up. Okay, and also we have important programs where is lot of investment is made, whether it is Jal Jeevan Mission, Swachh Bharat Mission, Namami Gange program, or MGNREGA for that matter. And we already have seen examples of how different programs can be used for this. Okay, so
it is not refreshing.
Okay. So I think there is some issue with respect to the presentation. It is not getting refreshed and coming back to the old screen again and again. I don't know what is the problem. Okay, but it is not very much required. So what I would like to say is there has to be a different kind of treatment for the bigger rivers and the lower order rivers. That's first important point that we need to notice. We talk about e-flows particularly, but the concept of e-flow will be altogether different when we talk about the higher order rivers or bigger rivers compared to what we talk about for the lower order. So we cannot straight away copy the concept of environmental flows for lower rivers, including for that matter, whether we talk about Assi or Varuna or many such small things. One thing that we have to understand very clearly about the environmental flow is environmental flows cannot be more than the virgin flows or the natural flows in any drain. And if any drain is seasonal, one should not expect or claim that it has to flow all the time because there has to be an environmental flow there. So the concept of environmental flow has to be understood in the context of the small rivers like Varuna and Assi. The second situation that we face is invariably, in order to take care of the mainstream or bigger rivers, we are using this concept of interception and diversion of the nalas. Okay, so that we pump it, and at one time, now of course that is slightly improved understanding, that people used to say stop nala, stop drains. Actually these nalas or drains are the smaller rivers or the low order rivers. How can we stop them? In fact, the very idea of stopping them is incorrect. And that's where we have to change this concept. I cannot stop Assi river. I cannot stop, and now because it is called as Assi Nala, so the concept is before it joins Ganga, it should be made dry by intercepting entire wastewater, because what flows in that river is wastewater. I think this has to change. Okay, we cannot stop. In fact, these rivers or these drains in their own right call for flows as much as possible in all the time. Now with urbanization and the current situation, we have a slightly different scenario. The scenario is that all these drains, which may be seasonal, some of them may be seasonal, some of them may have been perennial as well, like Assi and Varanasi. But we do not have any evidence of that. How much is the flow if you remove all anthropogenic wastewater that is going into the river, and how much flow will remain. And I think our e-flow concept has to start from that. The third aspect that I would like to address upon here is that when we talk about water quality in the river, should we talk about bathing water quality, or should we talk about even water quality from the point of view of human consumption or human needs for that matter? I think our focus should be, if you want to regenerate all these drains or smaller tributaries, we should get, as DG also mentioned, we should know about what is the indigenous aquatic and riparian biological profile, and our intention should be to ensure or to have the water quality to the extent that the indigenous aquatic life is supported, and we get back that aquatic life. So one thing is the water quality concept has to change, not the CPCB classified classification, given classification, class A, class B, class C, bathing this and that. I think we have to move away from this kind of concept. And for all small tributaries, the concept should be to restore the water quality or to maintain the water quality so that the indigenous aquatic life and the riparian biological profile is conserved. So that shift in the objective, in my opinion, is very necessary. The another important thing that I want to say is there is a shlok which says Tribihi Saraswatam Toyam Saptahena tu Yamunam Sadhya Punnati Gangeyam Darshana Deva Narmadam. What basically it says is, if you take bath for 3 days in Saraswati, for 1 week in Yamuna, and deep in Ganga, your all sins are cleared. Okay, and for Narmada it is said that even darshan matra is good enough. Now we have to understand this. What is the message that is coming out of this? Idea is not to compare one god with another. Idea is not to compare one river with the other. That Dharmada is so superior that even with darshan matra your all sins get clear. Okay, the idea is that geological settings, geomorphological settings, aquatic environment, water quality, all these aspects are unique to a particular river, no matter howsoever small that river is. And we have to understand first that what is the local, and each river, each tributary has to be dealt with its own merit and not compare with any other river or so. And our behavior with the river has to be different for different rivers. That is important message that I would like to bring out, that each river, so Varuna cannot be compared with Assi, and also with any other river. So Varuna's plan has to be for Varuna, Assi's plan has to be for Assi only. Second thing, that is when we talk about urban river plan. Now, when you look at Varanasi and you talk about Ganga in Varanasi, the whole focus is on Ganga. But I think if at all Varanasi has to do something for Ganga, they have to take the responsibility, ownership, and lead in making sure that these two rivers are the one which are actually joining Ganga in Varanasi. So they should take, and these rivers are flowing through the city. And if any benefit city has to get, it will get only after these rivers are rejuvenated or these rivers are restored. So Varanasi will very particularly get much more benefit if these rivers are improved. And that's the importance of improving the smaller rivers or tributaries. Now, the question is, who should take this responsibility? What are the kind of conflicts that we have? Okay, because there are many stakeholders which are involved in that. And aligning the interest of all stakeholders, aligning all the programs is very important. And I, from my last 10 years of experience working with NMCG and the government, is now more or less we are now talking about how various programs, how state government and central government with local government and other stakeholders can play their own role rather than seeing them as fighting with each other. And this DG also mentioned very well. And the very change that can be brought about is if we focus or we worship our approach through Saraswati rather than directly only worshipping Lakshmi. Okay, what I mean is the knowledge is very important. And I'm very happy that academic institutions and the government and others are talking about it. These are not two different entities. They have to work together. And so education, culture is very important. And economic development at the local scale is warrior. And we cannot separate out development with river restoration. So development and river restoration, conservation has to go hand in hand. And it is also important, as was also presented in case of the other river, where some economic analysis and other thing was presented, that if you do the conventional way of economic analysis, you will always find that getting water for irrigation will give you more return than leaving water for the sake of river. Now, how do we change this paradigm? And that is where we have to do the valuation properly. And valuation system also has to, and that will come only when we develop all kinds of knowledge. So Saraswati is very important, and this I have been emphasizing and again to NMCG and the government. Now something is of course setting in that we have to create a knowledge base. We have, and Dr. Nag also mentioned that unless until we know about rivers, so major effort has to be how do we know more about river. And today, if you all recollect, most of our local rivers, we have forgotten the name. We only call them as drain 1, drain 2, drain 3 and so on and so forth. So to start with, we have to start from there. Start mapping all the local rivers, all the water bodies associated with that. And that's the major initiative that institutions like ours, IIT, BHU and Ganga should take, and we have done that initiation of preparing atlas of all the water bodies with local names, so that we change over from calling it a drain into whatever the local river name or whatever. Okay, so that's very important, and that's one initiative that we need to take. Okay, and third thing is our efforts on wastewater treatment that also require a drastic change. Okay, we need to use optimal combination of the nature-based and the mechanical or electromechanical STPs that we plan for. So there has to be a judicious utilization of the electromechanical and this thing. I have a small video to demonstrate that. I don't know whether it will work or not. Anyway, I will give an attempt. If at all works, please respond to me whether it is working or not. Are you able to see this video?
Yeah, we can see.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a small sewage treatment plant that is working in my own house. Okay. Now you can see this does not look like a sewage treatment plant, but it has all the unit operations that you can think of in a sewage treatment plant, from aeration to attached growth system to a root zone treatment, and also a simulated river outside the periphery of the STP. Now, this is the concept that we need to bring in, and we have to go for as much decentralization as possible. So you can see outside that green cover, what you see is a simulated river, and we are maintaining good aquatic life there, including turtles and fishes, right? And this whole channel is fed only by wastewater. There is no fresh water that is going in. So I do not see any reason why a river like Varuna or Assi cannot come to this situation with proper utilization of the wastewater. Now you have to remember, the wastewater that we call it as a wastewater and flowing into the river is actually a source of water for these rivers. Okay, and we should not try to stop that water going into the river The only thing that we have to make sure is we have to enhance the quality of that water to a level which is acceptable to the river. And acceptable to the river in the sense, I will say that the aquatic life thrives. Okay, don't try to bring it to the drinking water quality or bathing water quality or whatever. That we can go. And that natural flow, in fact, that is the flow, because where are this water coming from? We are not generating any water. We are taking the water from the nature itself, be it groundwater, be it surface water or whatever. And that water has to be returned back to the water bodies. And if we do not return to the water bodies, if we do not return, the water bodies will dry up. And if we do return without proper treatment, they will become what they are right now, drains are dirty. So I think that shift has to happen, that we have to use an approach, and that is where all people have to come together and utilize. I was very happy that MGNREGA certain thing has done. Now we have to propagate this kind of solutions, not a particular technology per se, but a concept that we have to use an optimal utilization of nature's capacity vis-a-vis whatever advanced thing that we do. So I think that is very important. So we need to start working for the tributaries. And I will repeat again that the concept of environmental flow has to be different for tributaries and this thing. Our water quality expectations for the tributaries also has to be different than what is expected for Ganga. Ganga, of course, everyone may like to take bath, but is that the situation? And the last thing that I want to make sure is there are n number of problems so far as the health of the river is concerned. And the most common and more serious issue is, as everybody has said, is encroachment of the river space and also of other bodies. The question is, if you want, and this is a very serious problem, and it's very challenging problem also. If you start attacking that problem itself to start with, I think we are not going to go anywhere. We will be creating probably more adversaries and enemies for that. So my suggestion to this, like for example, when you have a serious problem, but what the doctors first do, doctors first check your blood sugar, they check your blood pressure, they check whether you have fever or not, okay? And once that is taken care of, only then we go for open heart surgery or bigger operation. So I think that has to be the strategy. Let's not start attacking on the encroachment. It is very, very sensitive issue. So whatever space that is available and whatever the flows that are happening in the river, let's try to make it in good condition, utilize the evidence for that. And I'm sure once the quality of the river and the aquatic life refers to, people on their own will change their back to the right now, which is focusing on back side on the river. They will automatically make that as a front side once the quality is gone. And then they themselves will realize that it is in their own interest that they give up some space here and there, which is minimum, otherwise it is harmful for their own property as well. So I think the steps, the sequence in which we need to go is also different. I think I will stop at this point of time, okay? But that is the approach, and already we are progressing in that direction. Already we are progressing in that direction. And the last slide that I want to next, okay, next, okay, the river, next, okay. What is shown here is what we call it as Ganga. Ganga is actually not only one stream. Ganga is not even the three major streams that we know, Alaknanda, Mandakini, or Bhagirathi for that matter. But Ganga originates from all over its basin. So a small river like Khan is also a part of Ganga system. Chambal is also a part of the Ganga system. So we have to view this Ganga as a thousands of originating stream, and which we call it as Sahasradhara. And we should know about each and every dhara and make sure that each and every dhara is taken care of. I think that's the message that we should take from this conference, that and it is the local people who should take the responsibility, ownership and lead for doing that, and everybody else should cooperate with them. So all government, central government program, state government program, but what should be done, that has to be the decision of the local body. And like we talk about River Basin Authority, I think can we to start with create a, if not authority, a kind of committee for Assi River, a committee for not the district committees that NMCG has made. Okay, that is for implementation. And two things are important. When you have to do plan and study, you have to look at the natural boundaries. But for implementation, it has to be the administrative boundary. So administrative and natural boundaries has to be taken together. For implementation, we have to hand it over to the administration, and for planning and study. So for planning and study and what actions need to be taken, can that be decided by an empowered committee for each of the small tributaries? And that committee can be chaired not by any government official or whatever, but maybe the most prominent or most acceptable, most eminent person of that particular river's basin. And then all others can join. With even academic institutions can give the knowledge base to that committee. The civil society organizations can give some other input. The government can give some other input. But ultimately, it is the real stakeholder, and we need to differentiate between stakeholder and the actors. Okay, like all vendors are actors. We have to understand that. Do we want to consider them as a stakeholder? So real stakeholder have to be identified, and they should be empowered to take call on how and what actions need to be done for improving the river. I think I'll stop at this point of time, and in the remaining sections we will probably debate more on both of these rivers, Varuna and Assi. I think it has been a wonderful session from the beginning, inaugural session as well as this session, and almost everybody is on the same page. Everybody is on the same page. So it's a good opportunity for us to take from there and start looking at how we can develop a roadmap for the small rivers like Assi River and Varuna River, particularly for Varanasi is concerned, and how we all can come together, share whatever, and a very good initiative has already been taken by IIT BHU Professor Singh to compile, we can call it as a compendium of all the information that is available with respect to Varuna and Assi, and that can be the starting point for us to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Vinod Tare ji. If Chairman Shri R.R. Mishra would like to make any comments, is he still around, connected with us?
I think he is not there.
Not there. Okay. In that case, I would request you all that Professor Tare's comment should be considered as a concluding remarks. My job is to thank all the speakers, of course, Mishra ji, as well as Yogesh Kumar, as well as Professor Maheshwari, Professor Babel, and Dr. Tare for presenting their views and mentioning that what should be done and how it should be done. There are several issues have been raised, and these issues have to be looked into very carefully. There are issues, they are ecological, economic, social, then how to start. Professor Tare was mentioning what is the first step to start all this action. So what he has mentioned, that there should be a committee, empowered committee, or perhaps a separate committee for Assi itself, River Assi itself, which can take a holistic view and make a strategy, and certain things will follow. This is what is expected, that if we proceed in this direction, then other things will follow and people will cooperate and things will be better. So all these things have to be looked into, and I'm sure the organizers and particularly Professor P.K. Singh has made notes of all these things, and he will take action accordingly. But I must mention that I was also associated with IIT, BHU and Civil Engineering Department till recently. A lot of attention is being given to River Ganga, and these conferences will again re-energize them to take certain action, to do more research, to take more positive action, and to make a strategy, particularly for the revival of Varuna and Assi in particular, and in general the urban rivers of the country as well. So thank you very much. I thank on the behalf of the organizers to all the speakers and all the participants here. Thank you very much. Over to Professor P.K. Singh.
Thank you, sir. It has been a wonderful session, and Dr. Tare has really summarized, many things, and we have to categorize the issues also, different categories, and then we have to move. It has to be a multi-dimensional. So definitely we are working towards that, and we hope that we will be in a position to come up with a viable solution for the problem. Yes, is it audible? Yeah. So with that, I thank all the learned speakers in this session, and we look forward. Post lunch, the session will start at 2:30, and we will dedicate this coming session on River Varuna. This will be the first part of our technical discussion on Varuna, the data sharing, the analysis part of that, and whatever suggestions are coming in River Varuna. So in that session, we will divide in two groups. One group is dedicatedly working, or they will spend their time in discussing hydrogeological aspects, how river and water quantity needs to be considered, how it needs to be ensured. We have, for Varuna, we have taken one Shastri Ghat, which is historical Ghat, very much socially relevant Ghat. So how we can ensure bathing water requirements there. Today it is in Nala, and the engineering chief of irrigation department. Let us remind ourselves that there was a time when we used to take waters from river. Now here is a time where we need water to be given to the river, and irrigation department of Uttar Pradesh has some scheme to give some water to River Varuna. We are going to discuss that. So the quantity of water will be considered in one part, and the second parallel session will run. If the quality of that water is challenging, how best we can do, how best we can come to the, scrutiny of our society. Society needs it. Varanasi has many universities, and Banaras Hindu University is one of them. We have to come to the expectation of this Varanasi. Can we give bathing ghats to the people of Varanasi? So we will consider that Shastri Ghat in the afternoon session. Tomorrow there will be session on Assi, where we are going to consider, if we are saying that Suram mein dhara e Varuna Assi nahaye jisme Kabir Tulsi, can we give one ghat at river Assi to the society, where our people, or we can say from the scientific perspective, yes, this river or this ghat is worth taking bath. So these are our challenges and social expectations. People are, talking about that. Let us ponder from our side, and let us give our contribution in that direction. So I thank all of you, and thank all the greatest speakers who joined from across the world, from Australia to Thailand to France, and everyone, including the national experts who have given their time and attention for our call. So thank you very much. We will rejoin at 2:30 post-lunch session. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
মাত্রা খাবে না